Welcome to the Petting Club channel, where dogs and cats are family. In this video, I would like to tell you where we stand on dog training and other dog-related issues. For that, we need to go back to my first dog. His name was Carlo. And before I got Carlo, I always had cats. I adore cats. I love everything about them. But I always wanted a dog, specifically a Newfoundland dog. And then a little bit over 20 years ago, I was finally able to get one. He was 6 months old, a youngster. He already weighed 90 pounds, a big dog. And I don't know what I expected, but my Carlo was not a ready-made lassie. He was just a dog. Moreover, I was not a lassie either. I had no idea what to do with him. I didn't know how to train him, or what to do with him, or how to control him. Walking on leash was an unattainable dream. Recalls were recommendation only. He had really bad manners with other dogs. And when we got in the dog park, everybody left. We were one of those. It would have been bad enough if we lived somewhere by ourselves on the ranch somewhere. But we live in the Bay Area. It's a highly populated area. We have people and dogs around us. And it was really clear to me that I have to do something. Otherwise, I won't be able to keep the dog. So I did something. I found a trainer. And she explained to me the dominance theory. She told me that in order to control my dog, I have to be a dominant alpha. And every time the dog does not do what I tell him to do, he challenges that authority. And I have to punish him and put him in place so that he will finally accept me as his alpha, and then I will be able to control him. So a few of the same things that she suggested that I'll do is alpha roll him, scream in his face, never get below his level, always above him, never eat first, never let him eat first. I should eat first. Never go out of the door, let him go out of the door first. I should do that first. Everything to enhance my position as a dominant alpha. Or the other thing was the choking on the collar, which I always use the buckle collar, so she told me to change it. And it's not like I thought that she was wrong. I didn't, because as far as I knew, everybody that I knew trained their dogs that way. That was the mainstream, as far as I knew back then. But I personally could not do it. And the reason I couldn't do it, again, we need to go back to my past in the Soviet Union when I was a child. And when I was a kid, I was very athletic. And my parents decided that I should apply to a special school that trains Olympic champions. And I did, and I got in. I passed the test and I got in. And the trainers in that school use dominance and force in training. We had to achieve certain milestones. If we didn't, we were publicly humiliated, verbally and sometimes physically. And it was a very harsh environment. The parents did not interfere because being an Olympic champion back then in the Soviet Union was a way out. And the kids did not rebel because they were afraid, both of the coaches and the parents. But what happened was that the kids got very violent with each other. for no reason except that the buildup of frustration and anger in them. There was no reason for such aggression at such a young age. There's certainly the resource. We never lacked resources. We were fed much better than the other kids, and were taken care physically much better. And yet the kids were physically fighting constantly. We were called the young wolfets in the school, and that was not a compliment in the Russian language. So when that trainer told me what I have to do with Carlo in order to control him, it kind of reminded me of my school, and I told her, I can't do it. So she said, if you can do it, maybe you should not have dogs, and certainly maybe not such big dogs like Carlo. And I was crushed, because finally I was able to have a dog, but apparently I was not able to control him. But despite how I felt, I had to consider the possibility that she was right, that maybe I should just stick with cats. I always had a great relationship with cats, and I never had to worry about controlling them. Tusha, Tush, come on, sit, mama. Good boy. Oh, honey. So I was reflecting on what she said, but I did reflect for a long time, because something happened. And that something changed my whole perception of dog training and other dog-related issues. And that something was, I took my Carlo to the dog park. And as always, I tried to keep him out of trouble. And the trainer's dog was in the dog park. And the standard, and there was a standard poodle that was entering the dog park, coming inside the dog park. And the trainer's dog, without any warning, without any provocation or any warning whatsoever, there was no warning, no reason, she grabbed that poodle neck and started shaking it violently. It was like, a scene from a horror movie. There was blood everywhere, and people were running, screaming, trying to separate the dogs. Eventually, we were able to separate them. If we didn't, that poodle would have been dead. And years later, I met the owner of that poodle, and I asked her how her dog was, and she said she survived, but she was never able to take her out of the backyard again. So after that happened, I took my Carlo back to the car, and I was hugging my juvenile dog, and I couldn't drive. We were just sitting there and shaking. That event that lasted maybe a few minutes at most changed my whole perception on dog training and other dog-related issues. And the lessons that I learned from that were reinforced many times over in the years that came after. And the first lesson is that aggression begets aggression. So what that trainer dog did in the dog park was exactly what the kids in my school did. The dog redirected on a weaker member. And I turned away from that school of thought in training, the dominance theory. I turned away from that, and I never looked back, no matter what challenges my other dog presented me with. I don't use force or dominance in training, not to teach new behaviors or to modify existing ones. I use positive reinforcement and management. The other lesson that was very surprising for me, but also held true over the years afterwards, was that dogs don't read the breed standard. And I know what you are thinking. You're thinking that the attacking dog was a pit bull. The attacking dog was not a pit bull. The attacking dog was a Newfoundland. Sweetness of temperament is a hallmark of a Newfoundland breed. Well, that dog didn't know that. Because let's face it, folks, it's not about the breed. It's not even about the dog. It's about the person that owns the dog. I am a total non-believer in breed-specific legislation. And lastly, I always thought that there has to be a little bit less stressful way to socialize our dogs, and hopefully the PettingClub app can help with that. So what happened afterwards? So I found a different trainer. She was very, very different from the first one. She had a house full of rescue dogs. I think she had like 12 dogs back then. And she treated both dogs and their humans with compassion and a lot of humor. All her dogs, by the way, were sweet and well-mannered. And she did not call herself a positive reinforcement trainer, but that's what she was. And we stayed with her for years until she moved out of the area. And what happened with Carlo? He's passed away so many years ago, and yet I cannot talk about him with calm detachment. He became this amazing, magnificent, regal dog. He adored me with every fiber of his being. And we adopted other dogs after that. And I watched their interactions, how he treats them. He always let them, he shared his toys, he shared his food, he let them eat first. He let them out of the door first. He always rolled on his back for them. He always played with them, even into the old age when he maybe didn't feel like playing. He always gave them everything they wanted and more, and in return, he was their undisputed leader. My dog skills back then were really in their infancy, but somehow he was able to understand, I don't know how, he was able to understand what I wanted. And not only he did that, but he was able to convey to the other dogs. And I don't think that the thought of disobeying Carlo ever occurred to them. Not because they feared him, but because they loved him. Carlo died at the age of 12 from degenerative myelopathy. But the dogs, they treated the other dogs that came after them exactly the same way, with love and infinite patience. He taught me how a humanimal family is supposed to function. And he taught me that to control my dogs, I don't need to be a dominant alpha. I just need to be a good parent. Check out PettingClub, please subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, tell us how your dogs and cats are making you